growth through connections, enabling sustainable progress, has some noble objectives. First, to strengthen your leadership capabilities. Second, to grow your networks. And third, to continue building the strong bonds between Canada, the Caribbean, and Bermuda.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, dialogue leaders. Well, firstly, can I say thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you in the Caribbean-Canada Emerging Leaders Dialogue as your president. And it's been a pleasure to spend a little bit of the time that you have spent, only 5 days, I fear, and that gives me only a very small illustration of what you've been through. But I think I do begin to understand what it has been like for you. And I hope you'll allow me to add my thanks to some people for making that all possible. You are indeed all emerging leaders, and I think what you spotted, there's quite a lot of other leaders around there at different levels. But you do need leadership at the highest levels too, to bring ideas to fruition. And for that, I think I would underline the role that Hemi Metic and Bob Taylor have played in moving this from an idea, and a very good idea, to a practical solution from which you have all benefited. We are really grateful to them for that inspiration and that underlying work that needed to be done to get us this far. But with the, I hope, the willing cooperation of our co-chair, Sandra Glasgow, who's done so much to bring on that inspiration to here in Barbados. So thank you all very much indeed for that, but to Bob Taylor and Hemi Metic in particular, thank you for making it possible. Over the past few days, I think I've discovered why some of you are here. But the very fact that there are participants from 21 countries is a true reflection of how quickly people have responded to the opportunity on offer. But together with the organizers from all those various places where you have been, our guests and alumni of the Duke of Edinburgh's Commonwealth Study Conferences, the Canadian Governor-General's Leadership Development Conferences, and representatives of the Emerging Pacific Leaders Dialogue, who are also here today, who have all contributed to building on that experience. A very big thank you to everyone here in Barbados. The welcome that we've been given by the Governor-General, and last night in particular the Prime Minister and members of the government. And that is a real reflection, I think, on just how much appreciated this dialogue really is. In 1956, when the first ever Duke of Edinburgh Commonwealth Study Conference was launched, the conference was a single purpose at that point. And it certainly was to provide the opportunity for up-and-coming Commonwealth leaders to examine the relationship between industry and community in real-life settings, and to be challenged on their assumptions and preconceived notions of what it takes to be a leader. But it was also in the shadow of the disruptions of the Second World War, which added an urgency to rebuilding those connections which had been so badly interrupted. We've had recessions since then, but I hope that nothing quite so disruptive has happened. But in the 50 years and 55 years later, not much has changed. There are changes in terms of the inclusion of NGOs and a number of non-Commonwealth countries and participants. But the main theme of the 1956 conference, as I said yesterday, is as relevant now as it has been, ever has been. And we know that the Canadian alumni of that first conference took that on faster than anybody else, and as they organized the second conference in 1962. Those conferences have continued, involving the UK, Canada, Australia, India, Malaysia as host countries. And in 2006, there was the first ever Emerging Leaders Dialogue held in the South Pacific region, which based between Australia and New Zealand and those Pacific islands. It was, of course, based on the Commonwealth Conference's format, but slightly different. But the success of the first led to a second in 2010. Now, you are the newest alumni. You join a group of over 5,000 people who have participated in this leadership development program. But you are pioneers here, because CCELD 2011 is the first dialogue that has partnered Canada and the Caribbean region and Bermuda to bring all these communities together. So as pioneers, an extra vote of thanks, and hopefully something that you would want to add as in joining those 5,000 people who have participated. I hope that your experience has highlighted a number of different issues, one of which, not unreasonably, is logistics, which in this instance has been a real challenge. But if it's a challenge to you, then it highlights the practical difficulties that the whole of this region suffers from, and is part of the answer to the issues that you see in front of you. And to our organisers of that, they have successfully overcome many of those issues of logistics to enable to support this event. They've met all of those challenges, logistics, not having a budget, the creative use of experienced alumni and volunteers to provide you with that opportunity. The support of the Government of Canada, of course, through CEDA, through the businesses that have been hosts to the labour unions, and the many organisations and individuals that have offered their support and in-kind services. That's quite a range of people, but it adds to your network for the future, because they're all part of that network, which you can now call upon as you make use of your experiences